G'day, welcome back to the channel. Now this is a short video. It's a bit of a heads up for a series of videos I'll be doing because today in New Zealand, the Civil Aviation Authority posted 3 interviews in podcast format, MP3 format, posted them to their website, and they're on some really interesting topics actually. There's one to introduce first-time drone users to their responsibilities called If You Fly a Drone, You're a Pilot. There's another one that deals with the issue of BVLOS and what that means to GA pilots, manned aviation, and really a good subject. And then there's one I'm going to touch on just briefly now called The Business of Drones. And this is an interview between members of staff. I think the interviewer works for CAA and the people she talks to are CAA as well. In fact, it says here they are experts. There are 2 people in this interview. You're only going to hear from one of them. That's a Corey Price, but he's obviously an expert. It's because CAA told us. So he's an expert. He must be their go-to man when it comes to the issue of drones and the subject he's talking on. So we would expect him to have a very high degree of knowledge and understanding of that of which he talks because he's the expert. So what this first bit talks about, now this is as an MP3, so you don't get to see much exciting on the screen, but what they're talking about here is the issue of drone registration, as I say, and they want to push it through. Mr. Price is going to explain, as an expert, exactly what benefits or why registration is necessary and the benefits that it will bring moving forward. So I'd like you to judge for yourself whether he has a full appreciation of what drones are capable of, what their limitations are, and just how viable many of the proposed uses of drones really are in today's world. Let's listen from Mr. Price.
What I can say, though, is that if the Ministry of Transport does look to implement a compulsory registration system for all drones, that will play an important foundational pillar in some of the emerging future drone technologies and things that we're trying to enable using drones into the future, including things like advanced air mobility operations, airborne taxi type of operations, drone delivery services and things, so that you can shop online and buy your sneakers and have them delivered straight to your door using a drone. So for that type of system to be effective into the future, things like registration will need to play a fundamental part of how we manage that.
Yeah. Be embarrassed, CAA. Be embarrassed. It seems to me that Mr. Price has read far too many press releases from startups with far too much venture capital, far too many headlines in the Daily Mail about what the future of drones is going to be. I think we, as people who build, fly, and have a great deal more experience than Mr. Price in respect to the use of drones, I think we will appreciate that you're not going to be able to buy a pair of sneakers online and have them delivered by drone anytime soon, if ever. The economics do not stack up. The economics do not add up. And nobody's going to run drone delivery as a charity. Yeah, Google does in Australia. They're delivering bread and coffee and chickens, but they're only doing it so that they can establish a need for their UTM. That nobody's paying for that service. It's free. So who would want free delivery by drone? But if you had to pay $8 to have a $4 coffee delivered, changes the picture dramatically, and it shows that this is just not economically viable. Now, Mr. Price is an expert. He's the best CAA has got. So that really makes me concerned about CAA's qualification to do the things it's doing with drones. It's just not acceptable. And if Mr. Price believes that me flying in my RC model in the middle of nowhere somehow needs to be registered in order for someone to economically deliver sneakers by drone. Well, again, he's only got one oar in the water, in my honest opinion. CAA is out of touch with reality. They really, really are. And this is just a taste of what's in these interviews. It just shows the disconnect between reality and CAA's experts. Also, they do some crazy stuff. They don't know their own regulations. When I was investigated 3 times by CAA for alleged breaches of their regulations, I had to school the investigators on what the regulations were. They didn't know. They didn't know the regulations that they were enforcing. I had to teach them. Again, I have 65 years experience and knowledge gained from that 65 years experience in flying unmanned aircraft. I wonder how many years Mr. Price has. How many years has he been flying, designing, building, fault finding, repairing unmanned aircraft? I would love to know and see who may be better qualified to decide what's sensible and what's not. But as I say, just touching on it at this stage, there will be some full videos going through these interviews and pulling them apart because they need to be pulled apart. There's so much misinformation, there's so much hype, there's so many things that they have missed, important issues that they haven't even touched on, especially in the BVLOS and GA situation. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. I mean, this is New Zealand specific, but it speaks to the attitudes and the levels of competence in regulators worldwide. We have people who have nothing like the experience, knowledge, and understanding that we do, and they're going to tell us how to do things. I'm sorry, but that's not a good way to get good regulation, is it? Anyway, go to the comments. Tell me what you think. Link to that page in the description. And I have to thank my Patreon supporters. You make it possible for me to rally against this kind of stupidity, and it has to be done. We must call these people to account. We must hold their feet to the flames. I think I may try and organise an interview with Mr. Price and ask him the hard questions, not the scripted questions that the interviewer has asked in these interviews, but the hard questions. And when he gets it wrong, I will challenge him. I would challenge him on his knowledge and perhaps correct him where necessary. Do you think that's a good idea? Would you like to see the flames and smoke that erupt from that? I think most people would. So subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Go to the comments. Tell me if you want me to do that. And we'll see if we can arrange something with CAA. But I have a funny feeling that it may be too close to Christmas and all their experts are busy. But we can only ask. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Overregulation is like a tumor. It's killing our hobby. It must be terminated. Now!